So, Lauren, thank you so much indeed for joining us. It's great to have a chat, albeit virtually. I want to start off really by talking about your ambitions because you're somebody who's clearly very driven. You've achieved a huge amount. You've pushed yourself beyond the limits on numerous occasions. Can you remember the first time when you realized that you had this sort of strength within you to actually push yourself?
I think since being a very little girl, it's been inside me to be exceptionally determined. Some may argue stubborn, but it's got me to where I am today. And I think when you grow up with having, I guess, half an arm missing, people, do they put you in a corner? Do they assume you can't do things? Yes. And for me, it was always like at sports days, and no matter what I did, if it was art class, anything I did, I was like, I am going to make sure that I do this to the best that I can. Probably mum and dad instilled that kind of sense of achievement inside me. But for me, it's a case of I want to do as many things as possible that challenge myself, that push my limits, my boundaries. And so, did I dream when I was little of being a Paralympian and having gone on numerous TV shows? Definitely not. I actually think that I wanted to be an air hostess or a vet. They were the two jobs that I'd lined up in my little head. Um, and as I've gone through, I fell into sport, absolutely loved the idea of challenging myself. Team sports, I loved being part of a bigger team. And then I fell into the individual sport, found swimming, found disability swimming, which was, again, a whole eye-opening experience because I didn't even know that was a thing. And then, yeah, from that, it's just gone on and on, both academically, outside of sport, and within sport. I really love a challenge. And if someone says to me, "Oh, I don't know if you can do that," or "Oh, that might be difficult," I'm like, that is the worst thing you could have just said to me because I'm
That's
going to
red
do
rag to
whatever
a
I
bull,
can
is it?
now to prove you wrong. Yeah.
So you mentioned your parents there, and we all know that with all Reach families, the family within Reach, but very close family, makes a massive, massive difference. Tell me a little bit about your parents and when they first found out about your differences and how they dealt with it and how they managed to become such supportive parents. What sort of journey did they go through?
First of all, my parents are awesome. I couldn't have imagined having better parents than I have. They've always been there. They are probably the reason I am the girl I am today. And my mum and dad didn't have any, I guess, prior knowledge of me having an arm missing. On the scans, my dad was told me that it looked as though my arm was just behind my back. So the doctors just assumed, I was in an odd position. And then obviously I came out, had the arm missing. It was like, surprise! And the doctor had said to my parents that the only thing I won't be able to do is play a piano. And whilst I haven't gone into music, if I wanted to play the piano, I'll just put on the record, I would learn. Um, but yeah, so my mum had quite a traumatic birth as well. She'd been allergic to something they'd given her, so she'd, I guess, gone on the table. But when my mum came back round, my dad had to say, "Listen, we've had a little girl, but she's missing her arm." And my mum said that she kind of had all these images in her head of like like a whole arm and what would it be like. And then she saw me and she was like, "Oh, it's fine, it's cute, like they put a little sock on it." And my mum said that the hardest part was kind of when people call you and they say, "Oh, congratulations, you've had a baby girl, da, da, what's her name?" And mum would be like, you'd have to say, "Oh, we've had a beautiful baby girl, but she's missing her arm." And people just don't know what to do. They're like, "Oh, like, oh." And one thing my mum says is, as a parent, you want to sort of, like, when you get your baby out of the pram, kind of, you're a bit wary of it because what are people going to think? What are they going to say? Are they going to judge? But she said, if you want to do what's best for your child, get your kid out and be proud, like, because your child's just going to learn then that actually you are accepted, you are normal. And mum said that was kind of what she had to do on everything. People would always come in and say, "Oh, doing this, doing that," and mum's like, "I have to let Lauren do everything for herself." So mum never intervened. Mum and dad would let me, for example, shoelaces. Mum's like, I can see you struggling and I just want to come in and be a mum and do them up. But actually, the best thing for you was if I just gave you a bit of time and I was patient and I let you figure it out for yourself. And if you couldn't, of course, I would come in and help you and you'd never be in danger. But first of all, I wanted you to exhaust all options. And I think mum doing that, I've taken it through for the rest of my life. Anything that I struggle with. Another example is no one was around last weekend and I had to put my bikes on top of my Volvo and obviously secure them in. And I was looking around like, how am I supposed to lift a bike and then hold it up there and do the. But I found a way. I did it. I didn't scratch the bike or the car. And, I could have just given in and rung someone. I need some help. But I found a way. And I guess for my mum and dad, they had questions on would she be able to ride a bike? Would she get a boyfriend? All those unknown questions. But my mum has said that the whole way through, they've just, I guess, installed a sense of confidence in me and told me that I can do it, and just, yeah, to believe in myself, and been proud of me. And yeah, it's kind of all come together. And yeah, they were pretty awesome, really supportive.
I mean, that's really helpful advice for any parent who is working out how to deal with the situation and how best to approach every different situation as it comes along. What about you? You know, obviously you had that fantastic background to really help you, but for youngsters who may be watching who obviously aware of their differences, but of course, as we get older and you go to school and children are then interacting with you, they're noticing your differences. What kind of advice do you give to other children from what you learned when you were young about how to deal with the looks, how to deal with the comments, and so on?
I guess I've matured and changed massively over the years. And being totally honest, I used to really struggle when I was younger. I think when you are a younger kid, you go to school and kids pick on the kids that are different. Whether you kind of, I don't know, you might be slightly shorter than everyone else, you might have ginger hair, you might have an arm missing, you might be really clever. Kids are always going to pick on something that's different. And as kids, you want to fit in, you want to have the coolest pencil case, you want to have the coolest shoes, you want to just be around all the cool kids and just fit in. And I desperately tried to do that. My mum and dad put a prosthesis on me, I think from the moment I was 3 months old. Like we were down at Queen Mary's Hospital in London, and we were having the arms on. And through my whole childhood until I was 14, I wore an arm religiously. Like it was always on unless I went to bed, or was asleep. And I'm quite grateful for both sides of it. It helped me develop equally so that, there was a weight on that side and it kind of built up the strength in this side. I became very natural with using an arm. I was able to learn to use it to ride a bike, to cut up dinners. It was very useful. But I used to wear long sleeve, like I'm wearing long sleeve now, but wear a long sleeve to sort of like, I guess, hide the fact that my arm was there. And I think if somebody had said, Lauren, here's like another arm, would you like it? I probably would have said yes, because I wanted to fit in. And then as I sort of went through I guess my years where I found swimming, I was about 11 years old. I stopped wearing my arm as much because I was always in the pool. And I became like proud of the fact that I had one arm. I was representing Great Britain. And then a fellow Reach member, you guys all may know her, Claire Cashmore. I went to boarding school with her. And Claire kind of said to me, like, look around, like, there's myself, there's David Hill, there's Louise. We don't wear our arms. And like, it was a smaller school. And people kind of said to me, like, we love stumps. And I was like, I don't understand what this means. Like, so I slowly sort of felt that I was accepted into school and, I didn't wear my arm as much. And now you won't see me wearing my arm unless I'm actually on the bike. It helps for a bit of, I guess, stability. But I guess now as well, if you said, Lauren, here's an arm, I'd be like two arms are overrated. Like I really do not need two arms. I can do absolutely everything. And I think now I was saying this earlier is that you want to be different when you get older, because when you're younger you want to fit in, you want to be the same. When you get older you need stuff that makes you stand out, because otherwise that you're similar to everyone else. And so now I'm kind of one arm, I'm ginger, like I just want to be the most different version I can. So for the youngsters that are there, you are special, you are amazing, and you have something that sets you apart from everybody else. And when you get older and you've got all these accomplishments under your belt, you're really going to appreciate the fact that you have something that sets you aside from everyone else.
Lauren, you talked there about swimming, and of course, sport has become such a huge part of your life, and you've gone on to amazing successes at the Olympics as a para triathlete. What was it that got you into sport in the first place? Where was the appeal?
So I'd say that sport started to influence my life when I was at primary school, perhaps year five, six, when you've kind of got your netball team, your rounders team, and it was a I guess very good at sport, and what it helped me to do was feel like I was part of something. And I guess I was always playing kind of the goalkeeper roles, and people wanted me on their team, and I was super excited, like to be wanted on a team for skills that I had. And I took that through to college. And before I left for my boarding school, I was actually captain of the netball, hockey, and the rounders team, just because I loved sport. I loved bringing people together. I felt valued. I felt as though actually I'm proving to myself that I'm missing an arm, but look, I'm on the top squad. I'm on the first team. Like I really love sport. And then obviously I fell into swimming, and I had to make the decision on, do you continue doing the sports you love at school, or I could actually have a career here? And then I found out about the Paralympics after watching Dame Kelly Holmes get her double gold. I looked into kind of like, well, what sports are there out there? And swimming at the Paralympics was one of them. And I had a discussion with my parents on, well, I love to swim, and I kind of did all my Kellogg's badges. I got my bronze, silver, gold award, and we made the decision that I was going to go into it. And it was pretty daunting. It was pretty scary. I was doing stuff that not everyone else at school was doing, but it gave me the chance to, I guess, evolve. And yeah, then I found swimming, and it just installed a sense of confidence in me that I hadn't had before. So yeah, I guess for me, sport was something that I guess kind of like changed my perception. And then after a while, I realized that not everybody feels the way I do. That it's not, I feel confidence from sport, but there are other people out there that aren't sports people. They might not enjoy it. So what else can I do to show people actually you might be at a disadvantage, but you are just as capable as anybody else? And I wouldn't say that I'm a natural dancer. Like if you told, when my sister found out that I was on Strictly, she just started laughing. She was like, "You dancing?" And I was like, "But I'm gonna try." And it was really nerve-wracking for me. People saw me, oh, Lauren Steadman and AJ, and they probably saw that the face, I'm all happy, and inside I'm going, there's 14 million people about to watch me do a paso doble around the room, and I can't remember the steps, and like my
And what
arms.
was that comment? What was that comment about dancing like a baby elephant?
Yes, exactly. Well, no, because that's how I felt. Like I felt heavy. I felt like I was an elephant on my feet. And AJ, it was a challenge for AJ. So the Strictly Come Dancing pro dancers had been told they get sit down in a room to reveal all the celebrities, and I was left till last. And it was a case of, right, we have a young lady on here that's actually missing her arm. And some of them, I guess, would have been like, wow, what an amazing challenge. Think of all the things I can do. Others would have been a bit like, wow, this is something different, a bit hesitant. Myself and AJ didn't think we'd get partnered because I'm slightly taller. So when we got partnered together, AJ was like, right, okay. But hats off to AJ. I couldn't have asked for a better, I guess, dance partner for the experience. He thought outside the box, which is something I love. I don't want someone that just plays it safe. He was like, right, well, this move is normally right-handed, but we're going to reverse it. And I'm there going, okay, is it reversible? Like, can we do it with the left hand? He's like, yeah, and normally I'd catch you with both hands, but I'm just going to catch you with one. And I'm there going, oh gosh. But, he really thought outside the box. And I still had my hesitations on standing on TV with my arm out for people to see. And AJ said to me, you've come on here to show people that they can be the best versions of themselves, and that they shouldn't hide, they shouldn't do anything. So you're going to stand on my right side, so that each and every picture, like, people see your arm. And now I really, it doesn't bother me at all, but I still had hesitations like 3 years ago. So there's been massive journeys for me in that, but I'm still learning as I go along.
One of the things that we see a lot of at the moment, Lauren, is how people are really stretching the boundaries to make people see that difference shouldn't be a barrier. Did you see yourself as a bit of a pioneer going on to Strictly, as someone who was, breaking different preconceptions that people might have about dancing?
I don't see myself as, I guess, a pioneer on trying to change perceptions. I'd like to think that there have been lots of people before me and there will be after me that want to, I guess, just I wanted to install confidence in not just people that might have their arm missing or a limb deficiency, anyone that might, I don't know, just have something that limits them in one way or another, to just try to just try things, to just believe that they can do something new, not be afraid to do it because of what people think. People will always think something and they will always judge. That's just human nature. I do it myself to other people, and love it when someone proves me wrong. So it will be the same sense on that kind of thing when I went on Strictly. I did want to show all the younger kids that are probably part of Reach, you know what, guys, if I can do this, you can do this. You're going to be awesome. You're going to be amazing. And the same for SAS. It was the polar opposite. I've shown that I can go on glitzy and glam and try and learn really cool dances. But then the other extreme to that was, I'm going down a cliff face with one arm. I'm abseiling and I'm doing it left-handed and just feeding the rope with one hand. Like, just because it's not the normal way to do something doesn't mean it can't be done. And yeah, I just wanted to install confidence, happiness, and tell everyone that they can do it no matter what.
And interesting you talk about Reach there, because Reach has been very much a part of your life. I know your parents were involved with Reach, very
Yeah.
early on. Tell us a little bit about your early memories of being a Reach child and how that actually then helped you later in life.
I think Reach was absolutely fantastic and played a massive role in, I guess, when I was a youngster and allowing me to see that actually there were other people out there the same as myself. My mum found out about Reach from taking me to get my prosthesis, down at Roehampton Hospital in London. And then a few years, it was Sue Stokes actually that my mum messaged. I know she played a massive part in Reach. And basically, Sue asked Mum a couple of years later if Mum would be an Eastern Region coordinator. I can remember Mum setting up like rollerblading events. We went to theme parks together. Mum said that one time my granddad played Santa and we were all like doing stuff with Santa. But I think I still talk to actually a couple of the girls that I was same age as me when I was there. And it just gives you a sense of being of belonging to a group of people. You share stories, you make friends for life, and as you grow up, I guess you kind of see how each other have developed, what you've gone on to do, and then you help influence the younger generation that are coming through. And I know what it feels like to grow up with one arm, so if you can just give one little bit of advice to a youngster, that's amazing. And it's not just the youngsters, it's parents. I mean, living with having one arm, I guess I go through life with fire and attack everything in front of me, but I couldn't imagine what it's like as a parent, the unknowns that would come from what your child's going to do. My mum, me and my mum recently, I was on SAS Who Dares Wins, and a lady had messaged because she'd gone into hospital for a 20-week scan, and the doctor has said, you're going to have a baby girl, but she's missing her lower right arm. And she was by herself because of COVID rules. She went home, told her husband they've got children before, and she just said that she felt really lost and didn't quite know what to do with that. She'd messaged me after watching me on the TV show, probably running down the side of a mountain, like everything running crazy. But I said to her, I can tell you what it's like to have an arm and live my life, and there's nothing that stopped me. I've lived a very full life so far, and I have loads bigger plans ahead. But you need to speak to my mum. And my mum spoke to her for about an hour on the phone, told her everything that kind of my mum had related to. And we put her in contact with Catherine, who's part of Reach as well. And I guess Daisy May's been born, and hopefully she's going to be part of Reach for a very long time to come and just get really involved. But they play a massive role in just guiding and being there when you have a question, because there's parents before you, there'll be parents after you that will have a child with one arm missing. it's a weapon. It's that's what it is. It's an absolute weapon. We are amazing.
And actually, the Reach family, in the years that I've been involved with Reach, that family atmosphere and people coming together and sharing stories and helping, being on the other end of a telephone for people is such a core part of what Reach stands for. And you mentioned during that about, I'm looking to the future, this is what I'm doing. And you've done so much already, with your sport, your TV, to go on to SAS Who Dares Wins, just an extraordinary thing, and again, giving lots of inspiration. What's next? What's left for Lauren to do? What's next to tick that box and say, right, that's another boundary for me to smash through? What are your immediate plans, and what are some of maybe your long-term goals?
The immediate ones, I guess, obviously the Paralympics. This will be my fourth Paralympics, and it's next year now. Hopefully, I'd like to go there and deliver the best performance that I actually can. After being a Paralympian for so long, I'd like to say that I'm very experienced now, and just I'd love to bring home the gold medal, if not be on the podium. To me, that kind of sums up a perfect career. I'd also TV wise, I'd like to go on Bake Off. I probably would deliver a soggy bottom or a burnt sponge, or Paul Hollywood would probably be like, I don't know, disappointed, but that would be a pretty cool one because my grandma taught me to do a lot of baking, so I'd like to go on there just for her. And then I think outside of that, I have massive aspirations. I've got 2 degrees already, and I'd like to do a PhD in psychology and behavioural change, to try and, I guess, go into sort of organizational business psychology, and share, I guess, behavior change through the eyes of an athlete, in a business perspective. I think that there's a lot that businesses and sports people can learn from one another. There's a massive crossover. And I'd like to think that I can make a difference there, and I guess just help change a few people's mindsets, their well-being, and how they do things. So that's kind of probably the long-term goal. So yeah.
Lots to achieve. Well, Lauren, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. We could talk for ages more. There's so many stories I know that you've got. But what I want to do now, if technology allows, is to hand over as a Q&A, and we will connect with you and make sure that we get as many questions from our audience as possible. But for the moment, Lauren, thank you so much.
Thank you.